Coming up on American Medicine Today, a startling new documentary exposes the left's movement to dismantle conservatism and Christian values. Vincent Everett Ellison joins us to discuss the meaning behind his film, Will You Go to Hell for Me? Then, Robin suffered multiple injuries that led to severe spine pain, making it nearly impossible to walk. After receiving exclusive procedures from the Bonati Spine Institute, she is excited to get back to her active lifestyle pain-free. Finally, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis recently signed legislation that would virtually ban abortions after 6 weeks. We speak with Compasscare CEO Reverend Jim Harden about the nationwide implications this could have. Coming up on American Medicine Today.
Featuring cutting-edge science and medical innovation, touching personal stories of recovery from pain, along with political, social, and healthcare issues plaguing our nation. This is American Medicine Today, brought to you by the Bonati Spine Institute and Alfred Bonati, MD.
Welcome to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Bonati alongside Ethan Youker. So a startling new documentary is taking the woke movement and cancel culture head on in an effort to restore the Christian values that this country was founded upon. Take a look.
The Democratic Party is the evilest organization in the history of the world. You're voting for a party that tells you they are going to abort children up to the 9th month, castrate little boys, and call them little girls, mutilate little girls and cut off their breasts and give them puberty blockers. Look at what they've done to us. Look at what they've done to us.
Wow. Well, joining us to discuss is returning guest Vincent Everett Ellison, best-selling author and the man behind the new film, Will You Go to Hell for Me? Thank you for joining us yet again.
Oh, it is my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
This all started with comments made by a stranger at McDonald's. Is that right? And can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, we were, Trump had just gotten elected, and my daughter and I was just traveling home for Thanksgiving. We stopped at McDonald's, and they were taking a caravan down to this march to try to get Trump out of the White House. I think it was this crazy woman's march. And they walked up to my daughter, mistakenly thinking she was a Democrat, and said, hey, why don't you come with us down to D.C.? We're feminists. We're pro-abortionists. We want to run Donald Trump out of the White House. And my daughter very, very respectfully looked at the lady and said, ma'am, I'm a Christian. I'm not a liberal. I voted for Trump. I vote my values. And I said to myself, wow, why can't more Christians just say that? You know, I was so pleased with her that she stood up for herself. And I understand that when the Democrats ask a Christian to vote for them, they are asking that Christian to go to hell for them because they're asking them to vote to kill children up to the 9th month. They're asking them to sexually groom children, castrate little boys and call them little girls, and to cut off the breasts of little girls and call them little boys, trap children in failing schools, and disarm people in war zones, and allow sex trafficking. And I wanted to write this documentary to let Christians understand the Democrat Party could not sustain itself without the Christian vote in this capacity. You voting for this party in this capacity is actually putting your soul in jeopardy. And according to our religion, to vote not only for murder, to put people in power, to kill people, and to maim people. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. But the people who say they're Christian, and 75% of white people say that they are, 85% of black Americans say that they are, I'm telling you that the Democratic Party has become such an evil institution that voting for it will send your soul to hell.
Where do you find the courage, I want to ask, especially as a black man in America who's also conservative and Christian? I'm sure you get a lot of backlash and flack for your stance, your unmovable stance, correct?
Oh, yes. Look, 365 times in the Bible, God commands that we fear not. One time for every day of the year. He commands that we fear not. He said, don't fear man. Man cannot harm you. And man cannot harm me. As a Christian, I cannot be a victim. I cannot be oppressed. This is why I have my problem with the civil rights movement. I have a problem with Martin Luther King Jr. that I talk a lot about inside the video. And that their movement has led us to be at the bottom of every socioeconomic statistic here in America. They destroyed the black family. They destroyed the black church. They've destroyed the black educational system, the black economy, and they're proud of it. They march and parade, and they celebrate what they've done to black America. This is a precursor. This is just rehearsal This is what they're going to do to all of America. Why? An illegal alien can cross the Rio Grande today and make more money this year than a black man whose family's been here for 20 generations. Why? Because that's where the Democrat Party wants us, on their plantation, afraid, scared, illiterate, and poor, so they can get the vote every 2 years.
They use, abuse, and discard. They don't care. They create, the whole Black Lives Matters, but that falls by the wayside when you see the death and destruction that they do to Black families. Mm-hmm. It's an outrageous lie.
They know exactly what they're doing. They win. They get 90% of the Black vote. Mm-hmm. They have found a formula that gets them 90% of the Black vote every 2 years. It is poverty, crime, drug abuse, fear. They've always used it. It's the plantation system in the 21st century.
Yes.
It's the same thing.
Modern slavery.
And they're going to spread it all over this nation.
How do they benefit from this idea of keeping the population subjugated? Obviously they're the ones in power, even though theoretically in our form of government, we vote them into that power, but they're so hell-bent on shoving their policies down our throat. It comes at the cost of pretty much everything, including, family, faith, all of that. So, what's the answer? What are we supposed to do to fight back against this evil and perverted party, as you accurately call them?
Well, we have to turn back to God. This is going to be a church movement, and it's going to be a spiritual movement. We're fighting against the devil itself, and that's the Democrat Party. We saw what they did to the South. It was 1% of the slave of the population owned slaves, and they decimated the whole South and kept it decimated for over 200 years. Why? Because you had that small group of people that kept power. They will burn America, and they'll dance, and they will dance and call themselves King of the Ashes. We have to understand this. How do we defeat them? Like we've always defeated them, through faith in Jesus Christ. We have to go and talk to our brothers and sisters, tell them how they're being abused, tell them that they are not oppressed, tell them that if you believe in Jesus Christ, you are more than a conqueror. We need to tell them that the Black preacher, the Black politician, the Black civil rights worker is their enemy. And they are only conduits between rich, white, evil liberals and the Democrat Party, and their job is to make sure they get the Black vote. My documentary puts this in absolute, undeniable form. You need to see it. Will you go to helpme.com? It goes into Martin Luther King, things you've never known. Goes to about the Marxism. It goes into how they brought Marxism into the Black church, and they commandeered the Black church to take over the Black community to have it vote for this atheist, devilish, satanic Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. And any Christian that is voting for this party right now is putting his soul in jeopardy. The Democratic Party is asking you to go to hell for them. Don't go with them. Don't go. It's
really something that should be shown in the school system. And speaking of the school system, you have the trans activism that's going on. Why do you think that it's infiltrating our educational system, and yet they're calling parents domestic terrorists for speaking out against it?
But George Orwell in 1984, his great book, said that there will come a time when the state will tell us that 2 + 2 = 5, and they'll force us to believe it. But it was inevitable because their ideology is so ironic that it will inevitably have to lead to that crazy conclusion. When you say that all thought is subjective and there's no objective thought, it leads into chaos and insanity. Look, we have a bottom. That's Jesus Christ. He tells us how to live our lives. He tells us how to treat one another, how to love one another. But the left has no bottom. They'll go until the whole thing explodes. We don't have to worry about anything, y'all. We're going to be fine. We know how to treat one another. We buy our homes. We have our property. We love our children. We have children and grandchildren. The left kills their children. They destroy their own property. They sexually groom their children and destroy their minds. They're high on dope, fighting, killing one another. It's a dystopia. All we got to do is sit back and watch them burn themselves. But we are supposed to go and tell the ones that want to listen, there's refuge over here. If you want it, come get it. But I'm not going to chase you down. Jesus said, go to them. And if they reject you, shake the dust off your feet. We are not going to run these people down. You cannot help anyone that does not want to be helped. You cannot knowingly give somebody your permission and the power to commit murder and do not think you're not going to be held accountable.
Amen.
You will be held accountable.
Amen. I agree with you completely. Thank you so much for being on the program, Vincent Everett Ellison. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Make sure you stay tuned. Coming up after the break, a story of recovery.
I went to Dr. Bonati and he went ahead and looked at my pictures. He told me, you have pain here, you have pain here. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'd been to others, but he was a doctor that didn't want to fillet my back open like a fish and do like open spine surgery because everybody else wanted to do that and I was not having it. The anesthesiologist who was working with me, I was like having a conversation with this guy, and then I was watching on the monitor as Dr. Bonati is fixing my back. I really felt like I was in good hands.
Visit askbonati.com.
My name is Robin Shaw. I am 55 years old. I live in Elkins, West Virginia. I am currently a medical biller at our local hospital, and also I am a student at West Virginia University.
1 in 3 women experience some form of physical violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. Robin is one such woman, and the aftermath left her dealing with severe back pain for years.
I was thrown around and kicked a lot, and I know it's since around that time I always had back trouble, lower back. I've suffered from this for many, many years, maybe 17, 18, 19, 20. I'm not sure the exact years.
Robin's pain impacted every aspect of her life. Not only was she unable to enjoy her favorite activities, but it made it difficult to stand, walk long distances, and climb stairs.
There's a lot of things that I like to do I couldn't do, or I was limited how long I could do. I like to bowl, and if I bowled, I can only do one game because after that, I couldn't bend down to roll the ball. I like to swim, and sometimes it affected my swimming, my walking and running. I had a hard time standing straight up. I always seemed to lean over to the left a little because when I stood up straight, I'd have like sciatic nerve pain shoot down my right leg. It was very intense, and I'm in the West Virginia Highlanders, and I carry the flag in the color guard, and sometimes it was hard to march. When they could tell I was in pain, a lot of times they would vote for me not to march because they hated to see me hurt.
Robin was prescribed pain medications, and she traveled great distances a few times a year to receive injections in her back. Like other patients' experiences prior to Bonati, nothing provided her with relief for very long.
You name it, I took it. I didn't like pain medicine, and so I tried not to take it because pain medicine would make me nauseated. But I would go up every 4 months for spinal injections up in the northern part of the state.
A loved one recommended she look into the Bonati Spine Institute. While doing her research, Robin discovered a number of people in her hometown had already made the trip to Bonati and were now living pain-free.
My significant other was researching for himself because he is going to have surgery in December. He saw that my pain was very severe. He had told me about it, and then I looked at it and researched it. I ran into a person that he had back surgery at Bonati, and I couldn't get over how well he looked. And also when I went to ask my boss for the time off to go down to have the surgery, I was surprised. He said he had just got back from taking his wife there and how wonderful it was, and how that same night of the surgery she could go walk along the boardwalk. And so that really convinced me I'm going down there.
Robin had heard enough and decided to make the call. A patient advocate asked her to submit her MRI for an evaluation. After hearing from a surgeon she was a good candidate for the Bonati Spine Procedures, she made an appointment.
I called and I spoke with a very wonderful person. She asked me if I would want to send my MRIs and they could look at it and see if I'd be a good candidate, and I did. She called me back and let me know, that they did look at it, and so we took the drive down there, and we were really amazed. We walked in, the atmosphere was just wonderful. Everybody was just really awesome.
On her consultation day, Robin met with a Bonati surgeon to discuss a customized treatment plan utilizing the exclusive Bonati Spine Procedures to eliminate her back pain.
He really impressed me. He was very, very professional. He came in and he, introduced himself and shook our hands, and then he looked right at my MRIs. He was very good, and all of them were really good in explaining to me very detailed what the plan is, and I appreciated that. After he looked at my MRI, he came up and he touched right here on my leg and said, "You're having pain on this side, and is it going down the leg on this side of it?" He knew exactly what side of the leg. It wasn't in the back, it was on the side, and then came to the knee and down. He knew exactly where my pain was and where it stopped, and he did that. It made me feel very comfortable because he, with him knowing exactly where my pain was, where it hurt. And then he said, "We will try this, the most severe, and see how that goes." He didn't want to go like overly and do every area because he said, the main ones that need to be taken care of. And luckily, that was the area that only needed done. I didn't have to have another surgery. And he knew exactly where to go and what to do. And I was just really amazed.
At Bonati, the patient remains awake and communicating with the surgeon. This ensures the source of their pain is eliminated before they leave the operating table. However, not everyone remembers the experience.
So I don't really remember much of it.
Robin, like most Bonati Spine Institute surgical guests, was surprised to learn at how quickly they were able to be up and walking in the recovery room.
I was really amazed when they told me, okay, you're ready to go. And I'm like, I was afraid to stand up because I remember I'd had back surgery in the military many years ago. And I was like in bed for a long time before I could stand up. And this is just like an hour or two after the surgery. And I was waiting to have rubbery legs when I stood up, but they were strong. And I was able to stand up and even walk. And it was wonderful. I had no pain, yes. And that's even when I first realized I can stand straight up. I was really amazed because it's been so long since I could stand straight up. And they joked and said, you gained 2 inches because I was standing up straight. My significant other said, he doesn't see the pain and the stress in my face and that I had before. And I didn't realize what he meant until I saw other people that I know have gone down to Bonati, and they had that look too.
Now out of pain, Robin is back to marching and enjoying time with family and friends.
Since I've had the surgery, I've been able to stand up straight, and I marched proudly in the Force Festival here this October.
Robin highly recommends the Bonati Spine Institute to anyone suffering with neck or back pain.
I would tell them, this is from my heart, that I'm walking proof that it really works because I've had back pain for so many years. And in just 1 hour or 2 worth of surgery, I'm free. I'm free of pain, I can stand up straight. I can run again. I can walk long distances. I can bend over without the pain shooting down my leg. When I see friends, on social media and they'll talk in the chat about, oh, my back's hurting, I suggest them, you got to check out Bonati because, and it's wonderful. I said, I don't have any more pain anymore. And most people, I've been surprised, a lot of people from this area have gone down that far to have the surgery. And it's like we're getting a network of friends like, hey, I went there too. And look at me, I'm standing up straight and I'm not having any pain. And we're excited to see each other and how well each other are doing.
I think everybody was shocked, like, really, you had surgery today? I had a drain tube. I was at my desk doing payroll for 200 employees, worked till night, got up, went to bed.
The progress after each procedure was amazingly good. The recovery all told has been phenomenal.
And was recovering, I didn't feel anything. The pain that I was suffering is gone. I can go back to work in like 3 days.
The surgeries that I had, actually, I recovered very easily from, I would say. I actually went to work the following afternoon.
That afternoon, when it was done, I actually felt so much better already.
6 days after surgery, I was back in the gym, slowly but surely working my way back to fighting, back to basically 100% of fighting, So 6 days, and everybody wasn't all like, didn't you just get out of surgery? I'm like, yeah, I feel great.
First time I came in here was Monday, and today is Thursday. I've had 2 surgeries and am doing fantastic. I'm still in shock that I can walk. That's all within 4 days.
Bonati succeeds where others fail. Welcome back to American Medicine Today. In what some consider a controversial move, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis recently signed legislation that would ban virtually all abortions throughout the state. And while conservatives are applauding the action, it has, of course, outraged the left. Joining us to discuss is Reverend Jim Harden, CEO of Compasscare Pregnancy Services in Rochester, New York. Thank you for joining us, Reverend.
Thanks for having me, Kimberly and Ethan.
So why don't you tell us more about this law that Governor DeSantis passed called the Heartbeat Protection Act? Is this really a win for the pro-life community?
Well, that's a good question. I think the answer is yes. It's an incremental move. And I say incremental because it doesn't totally ban abortions in Florida. It protects women from sex trafficking. It protects women from sexual abuse. It requires the involvement of law enforcement in those cases, mandates the participation of abortion providers who seemingly seem to want to protect the sex trafficking industry rather than protect women. The bill that Ron DeSantis signed that would outlaw abortions up to 6 weeks, okay? So that means most of these abortions, 40% of all abortions occurring, are happening through chemical abortions. So women are taking these dangerous chemical abortion pills, they're getting them shipped, mailed to their homes illegally, by the way. It's now currently illegal. It has been for years. But they're taking these drugs before they're 6 weeks pregnant, and that's still going to be legal in Florida. He allows for exceptions up to 15 weeks relative to rape, incest, and the specific physiological life of the mother. If there's some kind of reason why the mother might die if the pregnancy continues. This is a good step in the right direction, but it's a long way from being fully protecting of all preborn boys and girls.
When they talk about the life of the mother and for extreme medical emergencies, I suppose one could understand that. How do we know doctors or whomever is involved isn't just going to sign that something was life-threatening and then just take an unborn baby's life?
Well, the nice thing about this bill that DeSantis signed is that it's highly nuanced in that regard. You're going to have at least 2 physicians signing off on the fact that this particular pregnancy imperils the physical life of the mother and or would cause her to experience lifelong and irreversible negative impacts on major organ function. Okay. That's what it says, to protect women and keep and hold the abortion industry and the medical system accountable.
So, Reverend, you have apparently, it says here, a 9-point plan to protect both women and babies from abortion. So what do you think is the next best step as far as, what states like Florida have done to protect all of the citizens equally? What needs to be done? What is this 9-point plan that you wrote?
Well, one of them is to repeal the FACE Act, the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrance Act. That I believe is unconstitutional on its face, the FACE Act. I also think that, investigating the chemical abortion industry for serial malpractice, the chemical abortion industry distances a woman from her doctor and forces her to essentially engage in a medical practice that would damage her life or, in fact, end her life. There's chemical abortion consumer fraud, I think, needs to be looked into. I think attorneys general all across every state of the United States need to look into the fraud that's being perpetrated against women with chemical abortion. They're not telling women that there's risks of hemorrhaging, risks of sepsis, risks of pelvic inflammatory disease. She's 500% more likely to end up in an emergency room after starting a chemical abortion process than if surgical abortion. Yet it's being touted as safer than Tylenol. This is consumer fraud. So the stopping of the illegal shipment and sale of chemical abortion is absolutely essential. Again, attorneys general can look into this. Merrick Garland refuses to enforce the law right now. They're using the abortion industry, these sex criminals, sex traffickers, to cover up the crimes that are being committed. So I think a lot of that will go a long way in curbing violence to women and using the abortion industry to do so.
You also say that in 2024, that we need to really become pro-life statesmen.
When you start to see Republicans backing away and taking cues from pro-abortion Democrats about how they're going to run their candidacies, your campaigns, where they're missing opportunities. And so this predicted red wave died on the beach because the Democrats figured out that people wanted to talk about moral issues. They want to specifically talk about abortion. Meanwhile, Republicans refused to and wanted to talk about money instead. But morality trumps money. And so conservatives need to recognize that the role of government is to protect all citizens equally. Specifically, the Republican National Convention said, look, they recognized that the losses in the midterms were due to the fact that the Republicans didn't stand strong on moral issues, and the Republican Party is known for standing strong on moral issues. So stand up and make sure that the people understand that it's the role of government to protect all people equally. It is not the role of government to decide which humans qualify for personhood and protection under the law and which ones do not. That's a slippery slope. When we begin to invest or allow government officials to vest themselves with the power to decide who qualifies for protection under the law and who doesn't, well, who's next? At that point, equality is just a word we use to manipulate the masses, and justice is no longer blind. And so all people everywhere need to be pro-life, especially if they're in positions of government authority.
Tell us about your company, Compasscare, and sort of the services that you provide to pregnant females. And also, if you can, touch upon you yourself or your Compasscare, your company, have been targeted for violence for your stance on things. If you can, tell us quickly about that. Sure.
Well, as you know, after the illegal leak of the Dobbs case back last May, it sparked a crime wave attacking pro-life entities. Mm-hmm. So pro-abortion terrorist group known as Jane's Revenge started to attack. The first firebombing occurred in Madison, Wisconsin. They issued a communique saying you got 30 days, 30-day ultimatum. Pro-life organizations shut down or face the same fate. We were firebombed on day 30, $500,000 of damage, multiple Molotov cocktails and perpetrators. 2 firefighters were injured putting out the blaze. All we do, apparently, well, this is what's dangerous to pro-abortion terrorists. We provide ethical medical care and comprehensive community support to women facing unplanned pregnancy. We provide for the unmet health and resource needs of women seriously considering abortion for free. And we do that in New York State, which is the abortion capital of the United States of America. We're going to continue on. We provide services all across New York State, including through telecare and to different parts of the country and the world. I'm hoping that the attacks subside, but because of this ruling that's coming out of Texas with respect to chemical abortion, and in the Fifth Circuit now, it's fomenting more violence. So the Biden administration, the FBI, the DOJ are turning a blind eye to this. There have been zero convictions of over 300 attacks on pro-life entities like ours.
Unbelievable.
But we're going to continue.
I'm sorry to hear that, Reverend Jim Harden. Hopefully everybody gets their act together and prosecutes these, what would they be?
Scumbags?
Terrorists. Yeah, scumbags.
I just call them like I see them, but yeah, terrorists.
Thank you for being on the program.
Thanks, Reverend.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for watching American Medicine Today. Check us out next Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on Newsmax. And if you've missed a previous episode, head over to YouTube and search AMT. If you have any comments or questions, contact us at the number below. You can tweet at Dr. Bonati using hashtag American Medicine Today or hashtag AMT. We would like to hear from you.